this video, we're going to take a look at how to create drawing sheets in Onshape. Here you'll see I have a part already created. We're going to be creating a drawing sheet right here within the Part Studio, and then we'll be creating a view of the top, the front, and the right side, and then we'll also show an isometric view, which is what we're looking at right here, so the user has a better feel of what this part looks like in 3D. So it's not a hard process, but one thing that you'll need to kind of take into account here is you'll see I've got my part set up kind of nice here. This is like a good isometric view where it shows quite a bit of the detail, and in doing so, we followed some of the drawing rules, looking at what constitutes a good front view, the view that shows the most detail, the longest lengths, its most natural position, those types of things, and you can see that this looks like it's a pretty natural position for this part, as well as some of the longer lengths along the base. So again, I'm going to use this as my front view. If you need to, maybe your front plane is not showing the right view, we can always switch that around in the drawing sheet so that you can represent the correct front view. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go into the Part Studio that we want to create the drawing sheet. We're going to go over here to this little plus down here, Insert New Tab, and we're going to create drawing. So we're going to, for our purposes, we're just going to use an ANSI A. That's just an 8.5 by 11 drawing sheet, and so this would be in landscape, and then there is also an ANSI A in portrait. ANSI B would be 11 by 17, and then C, D, etc. just gets bigger from there. But for our purposes, we're just going to use an A, and that's going to be in landscape. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to open up the drawing sheet, and you'll see that down here along the bottom, I was just in Part Studio 3, and now we're in Drawing 1, which we'll have to bring in parts to this drawing. So it's asking for view scale and stuff. We can kind of deal with all that a little bit later, but right now it says select a part or assembly. And I want to just kind of spend a little bit of time here. So right now you can see I'm going to select a part from the current document. So right now in this Part Studio, you'll see I have Part Studio 2, I have Part Studio 1, which doesn't have any 3D solids, so it's not giving me that as an option up here. And I have Part Studio 3. So if I click the little arrow, you'll see I can choose any of those parts. I don't want those. And then Part Studio 3, I'm going to choose this one here. Okay. Now the view orientation, so it's ready for me to place views. And we're going to place the proper order would be the top view would go up here in the top left, the front view would go here underneath the top view, and the right view would go directly to the right of the front view. And then optionally you can put the isometric view. Generally I do put the isometric view in the top right corner. So right now my view orientation is front, and that is correct for my particular part. So I would want to place this one right here. But if you need to say, like, maybe this would be your front view, then you would want to select the right view to be your front view, if that makes sense. So, so I'm going to leave mine on front, and I'm going to click here, and without clicking anything else, you'll see that it gives me, like, it's still wanting to place. So that is my front view, and it's going to allow me to place one more view. And if I go up, it'll be the top view. And if I hover to the right, it'll be the right view. If I hover up and to the right, it will be the isometric view. So I'm just going to go ahead and place that one. So by clicking, and now I need to place more views. And so you can see that I'm already highlighted here under this projected view. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to base everything off the front view. So I'm going to click here and just go up and click. And then again, you need to place another view. So click the front view, go to the right, and place that there. So now I have my top, my front, my right, and my isometric view here that we're ready to put some dimensions on. So before I go and do that, I want to kind of show you one other thing. So we've got this, our part already put in here, and we were looking at this insert view dialog box. So when you want to put new parts in, or maybe you messed up and had to get rid of this and had to start over, you just click insert, and then you click insert here, and then that allows you to choose your, like where we found this part. But maybe in some cases, you want to actually get parts that are not in your file, like not in the current document. So if you go here to other documents, you can see it goes all the way back to your file, and you can pull from them. So that's a nice way to be able to access other parts that aren't necessarily in the Part Studio that you're working with, and be able to use them here in the drawing sheets. So anyway, I'm going to close that out and hit escape here. But one thing I also want to show is just a few settings on these. We didn't really mess with any settings, we just placed the views. But if I double click on the front view, you'll see that there's the view orientation. I don't need to change that, but we can change the scale. So if we feel like, hey, this is not really consuming a lot, you can go maybe 1.25, or you can adjust it. it automatically puts in the scale and it adjusts any views that are based off of the view that you're editing. So if, and then, just a few other things in there too. You can do render mode, best performance, solid. You can show hidden lines. Mine won't show anything there. But anyway, just wanted to show you some different settings that you can mess with there. All right, so I do want to change that to make that a little bit bigger. That's good. Okay, you want to have it, you don't want to make it too big, but at the same time, the more space that we take up on the drawing sheet, the easier it is to kind of read those dimensions. And so I think that looks fine. All right, so we'll hit the green check, we'll keep that, and then you can kind of move these and get them where you want them. We're not placing any dimensions on the isometric view. So there we go. Okay. All right, so this looks good, and now we're ready to communicate some information here with by placing some dimensions on this drawing sheet. I would recommend that you use the dimensioning rules, the proper dimensioning rules. So in other words, we're going to try and communicate as much information that we can in the view that suits it. So for example, I'm not going to try and I can't really worry about depth in the front view. So for the depth, I might do something like this. I might go put a dimension here, click that, and then do something like that there. And then I'm done with that view, with the depth. Okay, I might also, like this seems to be a good one to do that one there. Escape, scale away. I think that looks pretty good. For the height, I'll probably do that here in the front view. Okay, and then also probably escape here, move that up just a little bit. We want to put all of our longer dimensions all further out, and our narrower, actually let's just do that one out here, that one there, and so on and so forth. So put this one there, escape, and move the scale out. Okay. So I'm not going to put everything in here, but you kind of get the idea that we can go ahead and click the dimension tool. We can place all the necessary dimensions in order for someone to be able to, create this part. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is really kind of helpful here is, a lot of times you're doing multiple parts, meaning like I've got, the base and then the connector pieces, and I've got all these different parts and I need a drawing sheet for every single part. Including the assembly. So what you can do is, instead of having 50 million tabs across the bottom here, you can click this little guy right here, Sheets, and this is like a dialog that will kind of keep track of everything. So I can click here on New Sheet, and then you can see it takes me to a blank sheet, and then we can insert. So I'll go to Insert, and then we'll maybe grab a different part. We'll grab this part. That's my front view. That looks good. There. Then we'll choose this one. There's the top view. And there's the isometric view, and then we can move these around and dimension that. But you can add as many drawing sheets in here as you want, and then you can always go back. So like here's sheet 1, double click there, you can always go back and edit that, and then all of them are located here in drawing 1, just one tab, which is really nice. So anyway, that is some basic information around multi-view sketches in Onshape.